Okay, here we go. Good evening, guys. How are you doing? Welcome to episode 30... Oh my goodness, 35, I think.
You literally just said
I just said it. But then I was freaking about with the OBS, and actually, you guys will probably notice I put the thanks for joining screen on, and it all got muddled. So what is it, 35?
Yes.
35. As usual, you've prepared.
Game week 24.
Game week 24, episode 35. Good evening, guys. How are you doing? Welcome to the FPL Family live stream. So we're a bit later than normal today, so thanks for bearing with us. We had a few technical issues again with our pretty, I don't know, I called it Heath Robinson before, and then people were tweeting me saying, what's Heath Robinson mean? But it's a pretty basic setup, right? We've got this app that turns my iPhone into a webcam. We do need to go and invest in a webcam and a proper mic. I definitely get that, guys. So that is something that is on my birthday list. So
it's not your birthday till August. That's next season.
Oh, all right. Well, for next season, then maybe we'll get a better setup than this. But for now, we are where we are. So thanks for sticking with us throughout all these technological changes. Hopefully, we're not going to have any bandwidth issues. As usual, we've turned the baby monitor off. Netflix is off, so I think we're all right. With a right way round as well, I think, tonight. I think we're all right. So unless you guys tell us otherwise, I think we're the right way round. Let's say good evening to a few people. We've got the tea on. Hope you guys have got a tea or a coffee. Settle in for the next hour or so. Who's on? So FPL Batman, good evening. How are you doing? Simon Robertson, good to see you, Simon. Thanks for joining. Andy Kirk, Mr. Pathetico Morbid is on, who actually tweeted me earlier to say he would join this stream as long as I don't sing. Singing did not go down that well. To say the least.
At least you guys have only had to listen to it once.
I've
had it on repeat since beginning of last week when that guy came out with the song.
It's in my head. I cannot get rid of the Salah song. It's everywhere. Have you seen it? It's going. Maybe it's not going viral on Instagram because Instagram's all about pictures, right? Do you get video on Instagram?
Yeah, you get videos.
That is. I'm so middle-aged to even know that you get video on Instagram. But surely the Salah song is on Instagram. You can get that.
No one's bothered about Liverpool.
Have you re-Instagrammed it? I hope you have.
No, I haven't. I'm not interested. I've heard enough of it. It's been done to death in this house.
So PM, I will not be singing tonight. You'll be pleased to hear. However, I do know that you love my retro Liverpool shirt. So just as I was about to come on, I was wearing something totally different. And
oh yeah, you were. You've got changed.
Oh yes, because I remember PM tweeting me earlier saying he's coming on as long as I don't sing. So I thought, well, if I'm not singing, then I've got to wear my shirt, right?
Sorry. Sorry, Andy. Sorry.
So Andy's on. Good to see you, Andy. Dom J is on. Hey Dom, thanks for joining. Anwinet's here as usual. Good to see you, Anwinet. Luke Walkinshaw's here. New name. We've not heard Luke's name on the live stream before. So Luke, welcome. Thanks for joining. Prashant is here. Good to see you, Prashant. Rich is here as usual. Thanks for joining, Rich. Simon the Bomb's here. And who else we got? Lots and lots of different people. And Salah's here as well. Good to see you, Salah. So
that nearly made me go, we've got...
It's in your head again now, isn't it? It's in your head again. Prabat's here as well. Good to see you, Prabat. Mats is here. Mats Pettersson. Hi from Norway. Awesome. Good stuff. All right. So what we're going to do tonight, we've got... Well, to be honest, we normally go through the games one by one, don't we? But we've got a lot to talk about in terms of transfers, not just our transfers, but the actual transfers that are going on in the transfer window. Lots and lots going on.
Our transfers.
FPL transfers absolutely take precedent. I'm with you on that, but I want to get your opinion on, I don't know, Walcott today going to Everton. Andy Carroll going to Chelsea. This is happening, right? Andy Carroll at Chelsea. I want to get your views on Aubameyang to Arsenal. There's some great transfers coming up, so we're going to talk about that for a little while, guys. And whether, most importantly, they'll get a spot in your FPL team. So I think Walcott is 7.1 at Everton.
Look at the jammy pick list.
Got to be due a start, I guess. So, I'm jumping the gun. I'm predicting jammy picks already. Let's have a look at these jammy picks. Yeah, some good jammy picks. I want to know what your jammy picks are, guys. So get on the live chat, comment who you think would be a good jammy pick. Walcott only owned by 0.6%. That is... It's good differential territory.
He's on the list of potential jammy picks.
He's on the potential list. Okay, excellent. What else have we got to talk about? Well, as well as the transfers in real life, if you like, we've got to talk about our transfers, and I'm agonising over mine. I'm really faffing about this week. I cannot figure out what I'm doing. I've got 2 free transfers, a lot of issues to sort out in my side. So I'm going to talk through all the different permutations and combinations, and you guys can tell me.
You'll be pleased to know that for a change, I think I'm sorted. I think I know what I'm doing.
You've got 2 free transfers, right?
2 free. I think I'm going to spend them all, spend both, because I need to, in order to do one, I need to do the other.
Right, okay.
So yeah, I think I'm sorted.
Okay, well I want off of
everyone in
Calvert-Lewin, Morata, Loftus-Cheek. Oh wow, there's a lot of dead wood to get out there. And there's a lot that I want as well. I don't think there's many that I want in that forward bracket. One or two. We'll talk about Callum Wilson a bit later on. But in that midfielder bracket, there's a lot I want. I really want Mahrez. I want Ox. I'm having a look at Walcott now, right? So there's a lot in that bracket that I want. And I still haven't got Lingard. We'll talk about Lingard too. So we're going to talk about that. What else? Then we will get into, obviously, the fixtures for the game week. I've had a look, some tasty fixtures.
It'll be here till midnight.
Well, let's see how we go. As usual, we're going to try and get it into an hour. We'll see how we go. We're going to look ahead to the fixtures. Maybe we won't do fixture by fixture. We'll look at maybe the headlines, where we think the FPL points are coming. Let's see how we get on. I actually noticed the guys on Who Got the Assist. I listened to their pod actually earlier in the week. Great pod again. So you guys that aren't following the guys, Tom and Nick, Who Got the Assist, WGTA_FPL on Twitter. Get on there and listen to their pod. Some really, really good stuff. And actually, they've been tweeting some really good stuff about budget forwards this week on Twitter. So get onto that. If you listen to the pod, actually they were taking the approach of they used to go game by game, but actually now they look at the headlines, where the big talking points are. So maybe we'll take a leaf out of their books and we won't talk about, I don't know, Bournemouth versus Swansea, because that's boring, right? I'd rather talk about where the points are going to come. But let's see.
You actually told me this before I planned my notes.
Oh, sorry. We'll do it however you want to do it, dear. It's absolutely fine.
Dear, hang on. We've got really middle-aged all of a sudden.
Let's see who else is here. So Eric is here. Eric Lord, good to see you, Eric. Thanks for joining. FPL Batman, I think we've said hello to already, so thanks for joining, Batman. Joe Morgan's here. Thanks for joining, Joe. And Adam O as well. So Aubameyang wants to join Salah and Mane in the EPL. Yeah. I'll tell you what. I think Aubameyang is a class player. Why don't we start there? Let's talk about. And I've done some prep, as you can see, guys. I've done some notes on my phone, my other phone.
Well, hang on. That classifies as, I suppose, actually for you, that is quite good.
5 lines in a note on my other iPhone, on my work iPhone. That counts as, you know,
prep for you.
I was having a coffee at work and I was thinking about the transfers and stuff. That's me doing prep. So I want to hear from you guys in the chat, and also obviously want to get your opinion on. Let's start with. Why don't we start with Aubameyang? I mean, that is some signing in a transfer window where Arsenal are probably going to lose their best player. So Sanchez, we'll talk about Sanchez's FPL prospects when he gets to United. And I think it's when, not if, I think. Depending if Mkhitaryan wants to go the other way, which again we'll discuss.
Why would you?
Well, let's talk about Mkhitaryan in a bit. But let's start with Aubameyang. I mean, it looks as if Arsenal are in for him. It looks as if it's going to be 40-50 million quid from Borussia Dortmund. I think this guy is a cracking player, and actually, guys, I'm surprised that if he's on the market at 40 or 50 million, which in today's market is not a lot of money when you consider some of the fees that some of these guys are going for, I don't think that's bad business by Arsenal if they can pick him up. Any thoughts on Aubameyang and where he fits into that Arsenal side?
Well, so I'm surprised anyone wants to go to Arsenal, quite frankly, at the moment. Particularly with Sanchez going, and I mean, what's going to happen with Ozil? I wouldn't want to join Arsenal at the moment if I was a decent player. So,
well, I think Sanchez wants to go, right, and he's been mentally gone out of the club for a little while.
But
so if you could bring in somebody like Aubameyang, I think you guarantee goals, you guarantee pace. I mean,
well, you would have thought that surely with Lacazette and Ozil, would you not?
Well, you would, yeah, absolutely. But I think if he comes into the game and he's FPL and it'd be interesting to see how they price him. Like, do they put him in the sort of Lacazette bracket of 10-ish, or do they kind of price him a bit nicer at sort of 9? We saw Tosun come in at a nice price, 7.5, a very tempting price. It'd be interesting to see what Aubameyang comes in at.
But he's got more pedigree than Tosun, so...
he has, yeah. So for a minute, I don't suggest he's going to be sort of 7.5, but I'd imagine he come in at sort of the 9 bracket, right? Yeah, I think so. I'd be competing with Firmino, I think. So Aubameyang to Arsenal's one particular move that they're looking at. Sanchez to United, if that happens, then it looks as if Mkhitaryan's going to go the other way to Arsenal.
They've said they have to be part of the same deal, don't they?
They're not mutually exclusive, right? So it's got to happen. Do you think that Mkhitaryan's prospects get any better if he goes to Arsenal?
As a fantasy asset?
Both, really. But yeah, I guess as an FPL asset, yeah. I mean, what is he in the game now? He's got to slip down to...
Well, he's slipped a lot.
8-ish, maybe, something like that?
To be honest, I haven't looked at him for such a long time.
And why would you, I guess? Yeah.
From a fantasy point of view...
Is it a new lease of life for him? Does he get out from underneath that cloud that Mourinho's put him under at United, and it's a fresh start for him?
So yes, I guess from that point of view, yes, he does. But does he become a fantasy asset? I'm not certain of that in the Arsenal team the way that they are at the moment. That actually he'll be a valuable fantasy asset again. I think he'd be better off going somewhere else. I can understand why he wants to get out of Man United. I get that. Would I want to be going to Arsenal? No.
But if you if Arsenal, okay, they lose Sanchez, but they get Aubameyang and Mkhitaryan, and let's not forget, the guys have just made a very good point in the chat there, those two guys were fantastic together at Dortmund. So when Mickey and Aubameyang played together at Dortmund, they were pretty unstoppable.
But
so if you could rekindle that at Arsenal, that's got to be a good thing, right?
Yeah, but does Mkhitaryan want to go? Because this is...
He's not getting the minutes at United, is he? So he's got to want to, I think.
I don't know, it just all seems a little bit like... His agent, every time he talks, doesn't...
Yeah, potentially. There's a few guys in the chat saying that Aubameyang's attitude is maybe something that needs to be questioned. And maybe his attitude and his approach at Dortmund has kind of dropped a little bit, and that's maybe why they're looking to sell him. And that might explain why some of the bigger clubs aren't coming in for him at 40, 50 million. Because Liverpool, I think, were linked with him a while ago. And maybe the attitude was what put us off then. I don't know. But if I were Arsenal, if I was an Arsenal fan, I would be excited about the prospect of linking up Mkhitaryan and Aubameyang again. So there's that to look out for. The obvious one is Sanchez. If Sanchez goes to Manchester United, what's your thoughts on who does he replace? I think does it mean at the end for somebody like a Martial, or does he maybe go on the other side and replace Rashford? Or is Lukaku's spot a threat? Or is he number 10? Where does he play Sanchez? Where does he put him in there? Or is he one of those players that's a utility player and can play anywhere? Right?
I think so. I think if he goes there, won't he always be in the team? But it will be somebody different that misses out for him each week.
Potentially, yeah, potentially. I mean, I don't see him taking Lukaku's spot.
No,
I think Lukaku, he's been bought in for a lot of money, and he's got to stick with him. He's a Mourinho signing, so Jose's not going to drop him, I don't think. Can Sanchez play number 10? Yes, he can, very, very well. So what does that mean for Lingard as an option? Because Lingard's been doing a great job there, right? Yeah. Doesn't go, he doesn't go as far back as a Pogba, even though Pogba is quite, once the horses are allowed to run free, he does get forward quite a bit. But I don't see him there. So unfortunately, if I'm a Lingard owner in FPL, I'm a bit concerned about Sanchez turning up, because I think the most natural spot for him is in that number 10. Or on the left instead of Martial, potentially.
Yeah, I don't know. I think from a fantasy point of view, though, for me, if Sanchez would become a fantasy asset, certainly at United, because you can get game time there in a way that he's not had at Arsenal, consistent game time. But my concern would be that he is super expensive. And, so you're looking at replacing one of your real quality midfielders and some to get him. So, you're talking about people like Salah, who's, getting goals galore, left, right and centre. Would you risk it? I don't know. Brave man.
I think you're brave to do that, yeah. I mean, the point's being made on the chat about Sanchez plays on the right for Chile. I don't know whether that's right or not. Let's assume it is. So, again, that just goes back to he's a utility player, can play it across. For me, gut feel, he plays left. He keeps... does he keep Lingard in the 10? I think he probably does. It's hard to drop him right now, Lingard. Playing very well in that position. He keeps Lukaku up top, Sanchez on one side, and then, I don't know, whoever it is on the right, I guess Rashford or somebody on Mata maybe. I don't know. Either way, I think the Sanchez signing is great. Not only does it stick a couple of fingers up to Man City, which I think one of the key drivers behind this, in my opinion. It harks back to the Tevez days. You remember the Tevez days and the Welcome to Manchester thing, and the fact they nicked him. A lot of this, I think, has got to do with the rivalry between not just Pep and Jose, but the Manchester thing. A lot of this is handbags, I think. Nevertheless, if United get him, quality player. You cannot, you cannot say anything else. He's going to get him, probably 20 goals a season when he comes in, right? And all right, they're going to pick him up for 20, 30 million, which sounds cheap. But if you look at the package that he's given, you look at the agent fee, you look at the amount of money they're going to pay him every week. The whole package is upward of 100 million, probably. So the actual fee is 30 million. It is what it is. But they're going to get a quality player. You know what you're getting with Sanchez, a quality player. FPL wise, would you look at him? Is he too expensive, or do you get on him straight away?
For me, he's too expensive.
I think if you're really chasing in a mini league, it's an interesting punt, isn't it? Because what a differential.
Well, then throw the question back to you.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I've got to have a look. But it does mean I've got to find a couple of million between, I've got some money in the bank, by the way, given the transfers I've already done this game week. So I could do an Eriksen to Sanchez.
You've already done transfers?
I've done some transfers. Maybe more.
Transfers?
I've done 2 transfers, and there may be more coming.
Oh, for goodness sake.
It could be hits galore. But I have revolutionised my front line. I'm going to tell you about that a bit later on.
Probably in the same way that I have.
It could be. And I think, there is we'll come to the perceived template a bit later on, because it feels as if, and the guys on I always say Final Fantasy Scout. It's not Final Fantasy Football Scout. Talked about on their live stream last night about the fact that there's this kind of template emerging. And actually, if you want to climb the ranks, you've got to be template with one or two differentials. So we'll talk about that in a bit more detail later on. And we'll talk about the transfers I've made to be slightly actually more in line with that template on one of my transfers in particular. But what was to talk about? But with Sanchez, do you get on him early as a differential? Maybe. I don't know. I think he's golden at Man United. I think he's golden. It's a really good opportunity. A really good opportunity for him.
I just think, if he was priced in the same bracket as Salah, I'd think about it seriously.
Okay.
But for the extra money, it's too much of a disruption.
Okay. Let's go down a bracket then and talk about Walcott at Everton. So
now this one I think is really interesting.
Okay, so go on. What's your thoughts on this?
See, I like Walcott as a player. I don't think Walcott had enough time or opportunities at Arsenal.
Do you think? I mean, he's maybe this year, but he's been really unlucky with injuries year after year, right?
But this season, I just think he's been a bit unlucky with the amount of game time he's had. I think at Everton he's going to get that game time.
They've brought him in to play him, I guess.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And they need. We said it week after week. They need pace in that side, and Walcott hasn't got the turn of pace that he used to have, but he's still quick, and actually that will benefit the side.
I agree, and I think given where Everton have been at the beginning of the season, they've had a bit of a turnaround. They had a bit of a blip last week against us, but they're on the recovery. And I think signing players like Walcott, actually, that's a bit of a sign of intent from them. New striker, new midfielder who's going to be putting in balls in the right places, probably for their new striker.
And actually, from Allardyce's perspective, I know he's bought in Tosun, right? So we shouldn't ignore that. But this and it's hard for me to say Tosun's not a flagship signing, but Walcott is a real. That's a real statement of intent. It's a Premier League, established Premier League player. Allardyce is gonna want to make him successful, and he's gonna,
I think so too.
Build his team around Tosun and Walcott with probably Siggy in behind. I think it means the death, unfortunately, of a lot of these younger players that we've seen. So Calvert-Lewin for me now is just not an option. Right, there's too many forward options now for Everton.
I think so.
I think one of the things I also consider though is that actually. They've got a lot of talent in that attacking front 3, 4, whatever it is now at Everton. I still think they've got challenges at the back, and I know they've got Coleman to come back, and Baines is in and outside, and they've got a lot of youngsters there. But they've got a very good goalkeeper. But outside, they need a centre half, I think.
But from a fantasy point of view, that doesn't matter in relation to Walcott, does it? I mean,
I was getting away from FPL. Yeah.
They can be as leaky as they like at the back. I'd rather than not because I've still got Kenny. However, they can be as leaky as they like. If you've got Walcott, I think you get goals, you get assists certainly from him this season. Yeah.
And a good point for us. So Dom J is saying on the live chat. So Walcott and Balassi. I mean, the pace of those two guys. That's only going to benefit Tosun, right? And with the creativity of Siggy in behind, that's good. I mean, one question though, and Sai said it here. Sai, thanks for joining. What does that mean for Wayne Rooney?
Well, he's been a bit.
He's been okay, hasn't he? He's been okay, and he got a few goals, but is he in Allardyce's long-term plans?
I don't know. You see, I don't know. I think Rooney is getting to that stage where, I mean, he's the same age as me, so he's pushing it a bit from a football perspective.
You say Rooney's the same age as you, so he's pushing it.
Yeah. I'm getting old. He's getting old.
Yeah.
I think from a football point of view, anyway, to be. What?
It's just the analogy, the way that you sort of compared yourself to Rooney. I thought it was fantastic.
He's about 2 days younger than me. That's why.
Oh right, so you've got birthdays very close together.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, right.
Where was I going with this? Yeah, so I.
Oh no, how old you are now? Not supposed to know a woman's age, but there you go. Go on.
Well, if anyone can be bothered to Google it, then they'll know.
They're all doing it now.
They're all doing it. We'll find that harder. So I think are you getting to a stage where given that at the moment, can he play successfully and quickly for that many games in a season? No.
Was that Rooney?
Yeah. I think is no. Not at the stage of his career that he's at.
Okay.
So can he still be a good asset for Everton? Yes. Is he a good fantasy asset? No, because I don't think he'll play every game.
Okay. Last transfer I want to talk about. Let's just see if we've got any more comments on the Everton
Not about
stuff
Rooney's
here.
age.
Not about Rooney's age. Did you get Morata out, Lee? We're going to cover that later, Prabat. So PM Andy Kirk is saying that I should remind the guys that in one of the Twitter competitions that we have on Twitter, he and I were head-to-head this week, and he beat me by 2 points.
You're losing to everyone.
Come on, I need some sympathy here. I need some sympathy. Andy was giving it out to me on Twitter. I've been getting it in the neck in the live chat. I need some sympathy from you. I thought I'd get some. Instead.
I'll give you a little pat
kick
on
me
the
when I'm
back.
down. Kick me when I'm down. Brilliant. All right, so the last one I want to talk about is Carroll, right? I mean, this is a real out there one for me. So Carroll to Chelsea for 20 million.
Is this actually going to happen?
Well, it's stranger things have happened, and if you look at the way that Chelsea are recruiting, I mean, they picked up Barkley for 15 million, Drinkwater for 40 million. I mean, he was a lot of money, wasn't he? And then if you look at
I don't know.
So Drinkwater 40 million, and now Andy Carroll 20 million. What's going on at Chelsea? I mean, these are all right players, right? But would you have foreseen Andy Carroll going to Chelsea? And if he does, what does that mean? Is he an impact sub? Is he there to put a bit of a fire under Morata, put a bit of pressure on Morata? I don't know. What do you make of it?
Well, if it was April, I think it was a joke.
I mean, the fee itself, 20 million.
I don't so much object to 20 million.
Well, it's nothing, right?
No,
From a Chelsea perspective, it's nothing. But the point of me raising those three transfers is that if you add them up, you add the 20 and the 15 and the 40 for those three English players, all of a sudden you're sort of 70, 75 million, and suddenly it starts to, add up.
Sure.
So I don't know about Carroll. For me, still, bitter taste in my mouth from when he was at Liverpool. I never thought he was much of a player, and I remember we unveiled him on the same day that we unveiled Luis Suarez, and I remember thinking at that exact moment, with I think it was Kenny Dalglish standing between them, I'm way more excited about South America, way more excited about Suarez than I am Carroll, and so it proved. Look where Carroll is now, look where Suarez is now. But Carroll at Chelsea, is he a well, not just is he going to work there, but is he an FPL asset?
Well, surely Chelsea fans, there must have some Chelsea fans on there. Surely you're looking at that thinking, what on earth are we doing?
It's a funny one, isn't it?
It's really odd. It's just a really odd... I mean, he's injured at the moment as well, isn't he? I mean, what is this with signing injured players? I don't know.
It's a funny one. It looks like Batshuayi's going to sort of make way because of Carroll coming in, or maybe Batshuayi might be leaving the club. He hasn't fancied Batshuayi for a while. But
I just don't get it at all. I don't get that.
It's a funny one, isn't it? Funny one. Actually, Vinyl Richie's saying, Drinkwater, Barkley, Carroll, Barcelona beware. Because obviously got Barcelona in the Champions League, who have just signed Coutinho for 142. They must be looking at what's going on at Chelsea and going, bring it on.
Morata can't score a goal. Hazard's getting pulled off after 50 odd minutes.
It's a funny one.
And they've signed Andy Carroll.
It's a funny one. I'm not quite sure what's going on there.
Might as well leave all your stars at home, mightn't you?
So let's see what you guys are saying. Side Greg, think Carlton Cole is still available. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, remember him. What a legend. What else are we saying? Garth, hello Garth. Thanks for joining. Nonsense signing. Garth says. If he stayed at West Ham, I'd take a chance on the wild card. I'd take him to the... Hold on a minute. If he stayed at West Ham, I'd take him to the WC. That's got nothing to do with wild card, I don't think. If he rots on the bench at Chelsea, no chance. Yeah, not for me. I mean,
it's a weird one.
Wherever he ends up, even if he stays at West Ham, I'm not sure I would take Carroll. Right, we've talked about transfers a lot, but I think there's so much going on in the market. I'm really intrigued to see where all of these players end up. If I was an Arsenal fan, I'd be excited about Aubameyang and Mkhitaryan. I really would. I think those two could really make a difference.
Yeah, but will they happen, or is this just Arsenal trying to say stuff to,
Let's see.
Who knows?
Who knows? But a lot of these players have got got stuff to prove with the World Cup coming up. So you never know. You never know. All right, let's get stuck into the game week then. So let's have a look at the fixtures for the game week. So I'm going to be my usual dynamic self.
Here we go.
This is the Twitter page. So if you guys that aren't following us on Twitter, at FPL Family on Twitter, make sure you give us a follow on there, as well as Instagram, at FPL Family on Instagram, if that's your thing.
I need 3 more followers and I'll have made 300.
Well there we go, guys. For those of you that have got Instagram, get on there and follow at FPL Family on Instagram. So here we go. Fixtures for game week 24, Saturday the 20th of January. I just realised we're on Monday.
Yeah, you're on Monday night.
It's a bit annoying.
And we're just randomly at 4 o'clock on Sunday when there's no other games.
Okay. All right. Well, at least we're on TD. That's the main thing. So let's have a look at these fixtures then. Where do we think the FPL points are? Let's start at... why don't we start...
Can we start with Spurs? Because I'm sorry, Saints fans.
Go on then. What do you go on then?
I think there's points all over that from an FPL perspective.
For Spurs or for Southampton? You think you're going to go there and muller them, do you?
Don't think we're going to muller them. Didn't say that.
A lot of Saints fans tune into this, so let's be careful what you say.
I have said to my Saints fans that I talked to on Instagram that I think it will be 3-1.
Okay, all right.
So Kane needs 2 goals to reach 100 Premier League goals. That's going to happen on Sunday.
He needs 2 to reach 100 Premier League goals.
He'll have done
he loves a record, doesn't he, Kane?
Loves a record,
He does
and
love
the
a record.
team love a record. They love him getting a record.
They love him getting a record. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that.
So, so so far he's got 98 in 138 games.
Eric Lord is saying he's going to triple captain Gabbiadini, by the way.
Good luck with that, Eric. I wish you all the best, and I'll laugh at you in the next vlog. Triple captain Kane. Yeah.
I don't know about no triple captain, but I agree with you on that. He likes a record, right?
So
I get
he
that.
does like a record. He'll also have done it if he does it this weekend. It will be 139 games. It will be Aguero who did it in 147.
Okay, all right.
So yeah, it's on. It's on for Sunday, I think.
And Saints don't, bless them, they don't look great at the minute. They're still in this bit of a bit of a sticky spot, right? And Spurs do look on point at the minute. Kane in particular is in great form, so
Saints
it does look a good fixture. You got the form. Son looks good. Yeah, I'd go away win there, I think.
Saints are also winless at home against us in the last 5 games at St Mary's. Poch is yet to lose at St Mary's.
At his old club, of course, which you forget.
Yet to lose there. It's easier for me to say than it should be. Also, I'm keeping Ali for this game. So Ali, in the last 4 Premier League games against Southampton, has got 5 goals and 3 assists. So he likes to play down there against Southampton. So yeah, I'm banking on an Ali and Kane.
Ali looks on good form as well.
There's also been, I don't know if you've all seen this week, we've been away in Barcelona on a bit of a winter training.
They call it, what do they call it? Yeah,
they're calling it
hot weather training, which is basically
warm weather training.
Warm weather training, which is basically a jolly, isn't it? We're going on holiday, but we might play a bit of football while we're out.
But they've done some training. They came back tonight. They have been doing training. I mean, there was Dele Alli went live on Instagram yesterday, just walking around the shops in Barcelona.
Down Las Ramblas.
He was.
Yeah, beautiful.
He was like, I'm just going live. He was just strutting around with Carl Walker-Peters, Trippier, Michelle Vorman, somebody else I can't remember.
Do you know what though? I often think, you look at that, you see what some of these players do on social media, and actually it gives you a view or a bit of an insight into their mood, their attitude, their confidence. So one of the things I want to just raise about Walcott, right? I don't want to go back to the transfers,
going back there again.
But I noticed on Twitter, on his Twitter account, I don't know if he's a big tweeter, but he was on there and there was just a one-liner, something like, I want to announce that I've now joined Everton or something. Not, I'm delighted to join Everton, or, buzzing to be a Blue, or can't wait to get going with Everton. Just, I've joined Everton. And there's a picture of him in an Everton shirt, which looked really weird, by the way, because you're so used to seeing him in that Arsenal shirt year after year. So I don't know though, and this is this sort of, I've got to find it. Here we go. We can.
While he's finding that, going back to the Spurs, it's also been Eric Dyer's birthday this week, so there's lots of big celebrations and stuff.
Oh right, they love a birthday. Spurs,
they do love a birthday at Spurs, so I just think there's a lot of positivity at the club at the moment. Knowing that Kane's on for a record this weekend, I see big things for Spurs on Sunday. I also, and I said this to the Saints fans I've been talking to over on Instagram, I do think that we are a bit leaky at times at the back. We have a bit of a tendency, particularly if we go a couple up, to become a little bit complacent. So I can see Southampton scoring past us. But yeah, I think we'll win.
Okay, so here's the tweet from Theo. I mean, tell me, guys, I'm maybe reading too much into this, but happy to confirm that I have today joined Everton. Bit of a picture, bit of a looks like potentially a bit of a smile, a bit of a picture. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm being silly, but for me, that tweet doesn't say I'm. But
I don't know, it's not very good weather up there at the moment. Maybe it's not happy about that.
So let's see. I might be reading too much into that, but it's just something I thought I saw and I thought I'd share with you guys.
Okay.
So go on then. So the Spurs, I think we're back in an away win.
I think we are, and just from a fancy point of view, I think the odds suggest that Kane and Ali probably.
Okay. So talk to me about Man City Newcastle. So that's the evening game on Saturday. City, lost the last game, of course, but I don't think that Newcastle coming up to the Etihad is going to hold that much fear for them. I think that's a potential bit of a steamroller.
City against Newcastle unbeaten in the last 20 matches.
Yeah, and what's going on at Newcastle as well. I mean, I'm not going to touch any Newcastle assets in FPL with a barge pole. I mean, who knows what's going on there, right? You've got Amanda Staveley coming to the table. Ashley said, what has he said? He said he's put a number on the table, but I think he's maybe saying no sale right now, because I think what he's waiting for is for the TV rights to come about again, because we're a few weeks away from Sky and BT and potentially Amazon actually bidding for the rights for the Premier League for next season. or the season after, I should say, 2 years from now.
Right.
Whatever money comes out of that, it gets divvied up to all the clubs. And if the bids are higher than they have been in previous years, which they will be because you've got Amazon coming to the table, Sky won't want to lose the football. Sky will not want to lose the football, and they'll be putting in these mega bids. So, maybe Ashley's just holding off to see, what sort of income the club is going to get over the next sort of 2 or 3 years, and therefore
not a lot if they get relegated.
Well, he'll put the price up for Staveley, won't he, if he does that?
Oh, I see.
You make a very good point, right? What he should be concerned about is what money can he put in the coffers for Benitez to sign some players, and that's why Benitez is getting the ump, because he's saying, well,
what do you expect me to do? Work with water?
Yeah, so he's basically saying whatever goes on with the club behind the scenes, that's
Correct.
for you. I'm trying to manage the team, and you're giving me no money to improve the team.
Yeah.
So Benitez is not happy. It's an unhappy camp at Newcastle. There's a lot behind the scenes not going on. They go into the Etihad. They're going to get smashed there, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, from a fantasy point of view, the statistics are suggesting it's Aguero. So he's been directly involved in 13 Premier League goals against Newcastle.
But current form.
No, I agree.
Doesn't look amazing, does it?
But he does like a goal against, and so I don't know. He's not looking brilliant, but then
if you were to think about getting him in, I assume it would mean losing Kane. So therefore, you're not. Is that the basic premise?
Anything that involves losing Kane, I don't think about.
Yeah. Okay.
But no,
or it would mean surgery around Firmino, right, and the rest of your team.
Well, I don't want him either. But I'm not going to get Aguero. I feel like I still feel like I'm covered with United, with City, because of the Otamendi and Sterling thing.
Okay.
So I still feel like I've got coverage enough there. Because as I've said before, with City, the wealth is often spread between the team in terms of fantasy points. Some weeks it's Sané, some weeks it's Sterling, some weeks it's Aguero, some weeks it's KDB. So, they're not. It's not like it's always one player. At Spurs, it's Kane or Sonny.
But for that game, City versus Newcastle, are you thinking about doubling up on City attacking assets? Because they're going to get half the goals, aren't they? And the fixtures look quite good for the next few.
No, I'm not. I can understand why people would, but I'm quite happy with my team. So no, I'm not. I might do next week, because next week is the week for Ali's removal from my team. So potentially next week.
So the Spurs fixtures take a turn. There's a change of dynamic. Okay.
So maybe
we'll
next
talk about
week,
that in a sec.
Yeah, not this week.
The guys are saying that actually Norwich have scored a last-minute equaliser against Chelsea, and actually that game is going into extra time.
Have they? Put that on then.
I've got to stick that on. I don't know what we've got on the TV here. Some nonsense.
Is Morata and co playing in that game, or?
Morata apparently has come on, and according to the guys on the live chat, has missed a bit of a sitter as well. So it's not altogether going great for him. I've got to try and find the game now. What channel is it?
It's on BBC.
Guys? BBC. Oh,
yeah.
That's why we're not getting it then. Let's have a look. Here we go. Match of the live. Chelsea versus Norwich. Full time, 1-1. Going into extra time. Fantastic. All right, so we've got to keep an eye on that, guys. Again, the guys are saying, Dom J, quite right, more tired players, the last thing Chelsea want.
Definitely. I mean, maybe they need Andy Carroll.
And they got to go to Brighton at the weekend. I mean, let's cover that game then. So Chelsea versus Brighton. Don't necessarily see a lot of goals in that game, right? So Brighton aren't exactly free scoring.
Well, as you can see from my notes, which were quite extensive for the other games, I wrote nothing for this one because I was actually I found this game really hard when I was sitting here when you were out and I was thinking about what was going to happen in this game, because on paper, this should be an easy game for Chelsea. They should turn up there, they should take points, and it should be... Historically, they should. This season, particularly the last few weeks, with Morata and Hazard and the form that Chelsea have been in, I don't see it being an easy game for Chelsea. It's not.
They're not exactly full of confidence right now, are they? To say the least.
Not at all.
Morata in particular, but I think the team are playing. Not playing full of confidence. And actually, if you're sitting there, during the week, and actually your players coming through the door are, the Carrolls and people like that, and you're being linked with players like that, does that fill you with any confidence for the second half of the season? A player that I do want to point out, and one that a number of vlogs ago we were pointing out, somebody that could be quite crucial, is Bakayoko. It's actually proved to be crucial from a negative perspective. I mean, some of the analysis on Match of the Day after the Leicester draw at the weekend, this guy is ambling around the pitch, right? He's ambling around and he's not putting the effort in and he's barely a threat and he's not tracking back. The challenge you've got with him is that he is a Conte signing, right? So Conte spent a lot of money bringing this guy in at the summer. He's got to stand by him. He's got to make it work. So he dare not drop him, even though he did bring in Drinkwater for 40 million as well. But I sort of feel like Conte's got to make the Bakayoko thing work.
Yeah.
But at the minute, he's just not delivering on the pitch at all, Bakayoko.
I just think with this game, with the exception of Alonso and Azpilicueta, who I would 100% be playing in this game because Brighton don't look like scoring very many goals. So it could easily be
defenders
a 0-0.
For Chelsea, okay.
But defenders for Chelsea, Rudiger, Azpilicueta.
Christensen, I'll stick on, given that Cahill's got a knock. So yeah.
Yeah. And those guys, yeah, absolutely. And actually, I think if Chelsea are going to score in that game, look no further than Alonso.
Oh, maybe.
Because
maybe it's a
goals
set
are coming
piece or a
from.
free kick or something. Well, yeah, potentially.
So, yeah, for me, I think it could easily be a draw, 0-0, boring game. But I could see Chelsea nicking it with an Alonso.
Yeah, maybe.
Or somebody of that ilk.
It's an interesting game, isn't it? It's an interesting game.
What they need is for Morata to turn up and score, because I think if they got a goal out of Morata, it will relieve the pressure at Chelsea. Life will get a bit better.
And very, very quickly, because we've got lots and lots still to cover. Richard's saying Barkley is going to revitalise the team at the weekend. How big an impact do you think Barkley could make?
Look, I think Chelsea, any new face at Chelsea, with the exception of Andy Carroll, any other new face at Chelsea absolutely could do that, and I think that's what they need. They need
Bakayoko out, Barkley in.
They need somebody new to turn up who says, and actually Barkley's a great one for them because he's coming back from injury. He's got a point to prove. He'll want to get out there and do that. Okay. It could help them massively, certainly. Yeah.
All right, so that's the Chelsea game covered. Let's talk about United going to Burnley. So that's. If you look back at the season, that's a tricky place to go, Turf Moor, right?
Yeah.
Burnley are good at a clean sheet. I said on the last vlog that I'm expecting a bit of regression from Burnley, and I stick by that. And one of my transfers out that I haven't done yet, but I'm considering, is Ben Mee out. Because I don't expect... But I think Burnley will regress. I haven't really got much to back that up, other than, they've come up, they've been very, very good so far this season, and I just can't see that they finish... 6th or 7th or wherever it is they are at the moment. And United going there, I think United will have more than enough, actually. And they'll probably be buoyed by the Sanchez news, which I guess is going to happen in the next couple of days.
Well, it's Sean Dyche's 100th Premier League game in charge of Burnley at the weekend.
Okay.
And historically, if you look at managers that get to 100 games in the Premier League, they win those games. Now, I'm not suggesting for a minute that Burnley are going to beat United, but I think Burnley will put up more of a fight than you're giving them credit for. Turf Moor's a difficult place to go.
Right. Yeah, totally right. They'll work hard, be resilient.
They'll work hard, they'll defend well, they won't just turn over for
United will have enough to beat them, though, I think.
I think so too. Yeah. I think so too. But I don't think it will be easy for United, is what I'm saying. Yes, if the Sanchez deal comes in before the game, then 100% that's going to buoy United.
I'm just looking away because Willian's gone down in the box, and I'm not sure whether it's a penalty or whether it's a booking for a dive in. I can't figure it out yet. Maybe we'll come back to that.
I think one thing I will say about United is I watched the game on Monday evening, kind of through my fingers with Lingard constantly.
Oh, I did, yeah. Because I had no United attack. I was like, oh.
And obviously I went into the game with Jones, and I was, every time Man United went forward with Lingard, I was thinking, oh gosh, here we go.
Yeah.
So to get to the end of the game and him get 2 because he got booked, I was feeling very, very relieved, because I know a lot of people captained him. Now, I think I've ridden my luck with it, and that's what worries me, is that moving forward, I can't, like we were saying earlier with Sanchez thing, I can't see Lingard being dropped. I just think he's too good at the moment.
What's your views on Pogba? Because another 2 assists for Pogba. I mean, I put a tweet out there earlier in the week, actually, and there's been some videos going around on Twitter saying that, actually, if you actually look at Pogba's assists, they are kind of, all right, it is strictly speaking an assist, but he'll typically pass it to somebody, and then there's a worldie. Or, there's one assist where he heads it and it kind of deflects off somebody and goes in. He's got to be in those dangerous positions to be there to get that assist. I understand that, but people are saying, well, he's got 9 assists this year, and so's KDB, so therefore they're on a par. And for me, that's just not the case. I mean, KDB is head and shoulders above Pogba this season, in my opinion.
But he's much more expensive.
From an FPL perspective, he's more expensive. So Pogba then, is that one you'd consider, or
given one I think you should consider?
Why is that? As a differential?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't fancy them to score big at Turf Moor, and then I think it's Spurs after that. After that game, so game week 20, what would that be? 6-ish. Yeah. The fixtures probably look a bit better, so maybe I consider Pogba.
I think Pogba is. I mean, actually, I looked at that, and having watched that game, it did give me a slightly different perspective on it, because I did come out of that thinking, actually, maybe it's the likes of Pogba that I should be looking at rather than Lingard, because it feels like that Lingard bandwagon has already sailed from he's still cheap, so I can still afford him. That's not an issue.
I think a lot of people got off of Arnautovic to get Lingard, and then have kind of reversed the transfer this game week because Arnautovic looks essential, doesn't he?
Yeah, I nearly did that, and I'm really glad I didn't, because I feel very. And the only reason I nearly did it is because I was worried that Arnautovic wasn't going to play. So as soon as the news came through that he was going to play, I was like, no, that's fine. I'm sticking.
So let's talk West Ham and Bournemouth then, because you're talking about two really informed players right there. So, we're talking about this template that seems to be coming out. Arnautovic, for me, is definitely one of those players in that template. Callum Wilson isn't yet in that template, but maybe he's the answer to the third striker conundrum.
Well, okay, so you say that, but the statistics behind the last few games. So Arnautovic, last 7 starts, 6 goals, 3 assists. Callum Wilson, last 5 game weeks, 3 goals, 1 assist.
Okay.
So actually, Callum Wilson started 2 games less than Arnautovic. There's not a massive amount of difference in there. And when you're talking about 2 totally different players. So mostly because of where they fit in your fantasy team. So a midfielder in the cheaper bracket that Arnautovic is in, I think he's a no-brainer. But I also think that Callum Wilson is becoming a bit of a no-brainer.
I think Wilson is a really good option. I think Arnautovic for sure. I mean, if you just look at the West Ham fixtures, Bournemouth, Palace, Brighton, Watford, and then Liverpool, of course. But those 4 fixtures look great for Arnautovic. He's up front by himself. Carroll's going to go. The club have already said they want to offload Hernandez. So who's left as a striker for West Ham? And my theory on it, by the way, is that I think they're going to offload Carroll and Hernandez for
buy somebody.
I think so. I think. Well, I don't know, but they must have their eye on a 30-40 million pound striker somewhere. They must do. I can't believe that West Ham would sell those 2 players.
Maybe Chelsea or offload Morata.
Well, for 30-40 million back to West Ham, yeah. Just he goes that way and Carroll goes the other way. As much as I like Arnie in that role, and I think he's flourishing right now with Lanzini in behind, I can't believe that West Ham would go the rest of the season with just Arnautovic as a kind of forward player.
No,
great for FPL. So. Don't get me wrong. Great for FPL.
Yeah, but it's a risk if they get injured, isn't it?
A big risk.
I think, from a fantasy point of view, Arnautovic absolutely essential at the moment.
Lanzini on a double up. What are you thinking?
So that was going to be my point next. Lanzini on a double up is very, very appealing to me.
Okay. Not be on the wit of man for them to have a rough game though.
Exactly.
Ham, right?
Exactly.
It's a big risk, but if you're chasing, maybe.
If Arnautovic and Lanzini were playing at, most other clubs, I'd think, I'd take a punt on a double in the midfield because I don't have anyone else in my team from them. So it's not like I've got a defender as well or what have you.
Yeah.
However, at West Ham, like you say, there's the potential for them to just have an off game, and then if you lose both in one game, it's a bit of a risk to me. So no, I wouldn't have both. If I'm chasing the game, I might take a punt on Lanzini.
Okay.
Otherwise, I think it's an Arnautovic.
Okay. So people on here, Richie saying don't need strikers with Arnie in there. Okay, fair enough. Let's have a look. What else are you guys saying? I think Lanzini is just as good an option as Arnie. Yeah, I think you're right, James. The question is, do you double up, given that the next 4 look really good for West Ham? I'm not sure you do. Fozzie B, so welcome Fozzie B, thanks for joining. Creswell at the back. Yeah, so we haven't really discussed West Ham's defensive assets.
Creswell is on my jammy pick list for this week. He's another one, so we'll talk about him in a minute.
Under 5% owned must be if he's on the jammy pick list.
Where is my jammy pick list? I'll tell you, he's got owned by 3.9%.
Okay, good earlier on in the season for getting in those dangerous positions, actually. What's his price in FPL?
5.1.
5.1, okay, so who's he competing with? He's... the 5 millions. Is there much in that bracket? I mean, if you go up a little bit, you're in the Stones and Van Dijk sort of range, aren't you? So are you going to get him over those guys? I don't know. Is he sort of in the Maguire bracket as well? So yeah, definitely worth a look at. With those fixtures, I think he's looking okay. And when it's saying Arnautovic, 52 points in the last 6 games. I think he's nailed on Arnautovic. I think you got to have him for now. And Bournemouth-wise, so Callum Wilson is one of my transfers this game week. So I have done Dominic Calvert-Lewin out, and I've done Callum Wilson in. Okay. It felt like a really obvious move, and I know a lot of the guys on Twitter, and I think the guys on the Scoutcast were saying it. A lot of you guys I speak to on Twitter were saying that it seems like a sensible move. I look at the form that he's in, he looks good. The fixtures for Bournemouth don't look too bad either. So West Ham, Chelsea, and we know we can kind of, Chelsea's hard to score against right now, but they're off form a little bit. Stoke at home, Huddersfield away, Newcastle at home. The fixtures look good for Bournemouth. He looks pretty nailed on, Callum Wilson, with Defoe being out in the sort of short to medium term. Probably on penalties as well, Callum Wilson. So given that I had Dominic Calvert-Lewin in there, who ain't going to get a look in now with Tosun and Walcott coming in, for a couple of million more, Wilson seems like a really good bet for me. So that's where I've gone on one of my transfers anyway.
Can we just talk about Ibe for a minute?
Jordan Ibe, yeah, okay.
Because I think...
Good underlying stats the last few weeks, and actually popped up with a goal, didn't he?
Yeah, and in my reading about him, they were saying that what's kind of revolutionised him as a fantasy asset is that him and Smith are swapping positions a lot during matches, which is allowing him to have a little bit more freedom, which is why he's starting to get forward a lot more than he has been previously. So I think he's one to stick on the radar and just keep an eye on it over the next couple of weeks. And just see what happens with him, because I think if that continues to be the case where they've got that flexibility, then he could become a really good fantasy asset.
So Greg's is saying he's heard, and I think a few of us have heard, that West Ham might be in for Daniel Sturridge. So is the Carroll and Hernandez going out? Is that making way for Sturridge? Is that they're going to get some money for Sturridge? I mean, looking at Liverpool, right? So he's got potential to go now. Build a team around him. That's what he likes, Sturridge.
I tell you, if he's playing at West Ham, then I think he becomes a fantasy asset too.
Quite expensive, isn't he, Sturridge? I think still. I'd have to have a look. I don't know the price, but he's not one I've considered so far.
Well, no,
but with
because
him,
at Liverpool you wouldn't consider him because you've got Firmino and co.
Yeah, sure. But if you've got to stick Lanzini behind him and you stick Arnautovic wide of him, I think that suddenly looks not a bad prospect actually. So yeah, potentially that's one to look at. I next want to go to the Stoke and Huddersfield game. That might not sound like a very glamorous tie, guys, but I think that's really interesting. For Sturridge, 7.9.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe a bit on the expensive side.
Where do you want to go, sorry?
Stoke and Huddersfield, which I think has got the possibility.
Lambert's first game.
Yeah, it's got the possibility to be a bit unglamorous, but actually that game, Lambert's first game, I think there's a lot of Stoke players that will have something to prove.
And Huddersfield are terrible away. They've only won twice away all season.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're terrible.
And I think we sat on the last vlog and said, that United game for Stoke, maybe they've mentally written it off, and actually, Lambert was in the stands, but you're not going to bring a new manager in and give him his first game at Old Trafford. You're going to give it him at home to Huddersfield.
Well,
right?
I mean, what do you think about him though? Because he's not managed in the Premier League since February 2015. That's a long time.
Lambert,
yeah,
I think it's really uninspirational.
I agree.
Really uninspirational. If I was a Stoke fan, I'd be really uninspired by that. I'm sorry, guys, for any Stoke fans listening, but for me. And I've heard the saying said a couple of times this week. They're preparing for life in the Championship, which I would hate because I like Stoke as a football side, and they've got some players in there that I like, and I like Peter Crouch and players like that, right? But I just don't see that they've got the players and or the manager now, right?
No.
And the fact that Stephen Ireland was playing against United, was he? Is he even a player anymore, Stephen Ireland? Where's he been?
Back in his heyday, I really liked Stephen
He's
Ireland.
fantasy gold, isn't he?
Yeah,
Fantasy gold.
Yeah.
So they have got some players, and would you consider Shaqiri again? Does Choupo-Moting come back on the radar? Do you look at some of their defensive assets? And one of the guys I wanted to put out there as a proper jammy pick was that fullback that played in the last couple of games. Is it Bauer? I think.
Jack. No, that's not his name.
I think his name is Jack Bauer.
No, it's not.
But it's Bauer, somebody Bauer. Got forward a little bit, and Huddersfield at home, new manager. You got to think Stoke have got to win that. Stoke have got to win. We've talked on vlogs before about teams that have got to win. Stoke have got to win at the weekend. They just have to.
I just think that's boring. That game, it's got boredom written all over it. Would I'd play a defensive asset, and I think that's about it.
Yeah, maybe. Potentially unglamorous that tie. But if I was looking at some proper differentials, then Bauer might be one of them. Shaqiri might come back on. Look at the Stoke fixtures. Huddersfield at home, Watford at home, Bournemouth away, Brighton at home, Leicester away. Don't get any better than that. That is top of the ticker, as you guys can see. So if I'm Paul Lambert and I want to make an impact, you're going to make an impact in those 5 games. But it's Paul Lambert, and I'm not sure that's an inspired signing, but let's see.
Let's move back to good fantasy assets and talk about Liverpool.
Go on then.
So obviously, against Swansea, Salah, Firmino, play them all.
I think what's interesting is that actually, and I want to have a look at, you guys can tell us, but I want to have a look at how Swansea have got on tonight. So Swansea have got a cup replay tonight. I don't know what sort of team that they have put out Swansea. I suspect...
They're through, it says there. Swansea through.
Where does it say that? Okay, how do I get the Swansea team? I just want to see what sort of team they put out, because if that's a first choice team, then
go into the scores and then click on Swansea that way.
Yeah.
Go down.
Let's have a look.
There, stop, go back up.
Up.
There, scores.
Scores?
and then click on the game.
Oh, you're absolutely right. 2-1, okay. Apparently, I was listening on the radio on the way back from where I was out this evening. Jordan Ayew's goal is apparently an absolute storm.
Okay, so I actually have Ayew written down to talk about. So, for me, this is Liverpool victory all over. And I will talk about Liverpool in a minute. But putting Liverpool aside for a second, I think Ayew is actually a really interesting fantasy asset at the moment.
Okay.
So he's got 3 goals in his last 5 games, which in itself has got to put him on your radar.
I think so, yeah.
What's really interesting about him is that this game week he's had 69,000 new owners.
Jordan Ayew?
Yeah. He's third, only behind Firmino. Who's
most transferred in?
Yeah. So far. Behind Firmino, who's got 101,000, and Harry Kane, who's got 77. So he's the third most transferred in player so far this game week.
It's got to be an enabler, isn't he?
Absolutely,
right?
He is an enabler, and he's probably enabling one of those big boys. However, I think when you're looking at him from a fantasy point of view, he's got 3 goals in his last 5 games. That's certainly not a bad return for a cheap player.
No, not at all.
And it's something to think about because at Swansea they've got very little else going on. So he is the one player in that team that seems to be doing something.
And Sai is saying only 5.1 in the game, so definitely an enabler.
Cheap, absolutely.
Every tip is saying, remember, Liverpool often disappoint after a huge triumph.
I'm not saying anything.
I'm not saying anything about that.
But Liverpool, let's talk about you for a minute.
Well, can I just talk about this lineup for Swansea tonight? Because I've gone to the effort of finding it. So let's have a look at who they played and how many first teamers are in there. So Norton, Fernandez, Mawson, Carroll, Ayew, Bonnie as well. It looks as if Kluk has come on for a bit. So it's not exactly second string. It's not exactly a full first 11 either.
It's a bit mixed, isn't it?
It's a bit mixed. So the point of bringing that up was that...
But they have got until Monday night.
Yeah, I get that. But what the point I'm making is that Liverpool have had since the Man City game to recover and to train and prepare. So, given that Swansea have had to play this game on a Wednesday, all right, they've got till Monday, but they've got half the amount of time almost that we've had to prepare. So...
Okay.
Go back to what we said before about Kane being a great captain option this week. He absolutely is, in my opinion, absolutely, and they'll want him to get yet another record.
Yeah.
But I really fancy Salah.
Okay.
I really fancy Salah, and Firmino as well, a bit less so potentially. But Salah's a great captain pick this week.
So a stat to back up what you've just said: Swansea have the fewest home goals this season, just the 6.
Okay.
Liverpool have the most away goals this season so far.
6 home goals.
Yeah. Liverpool have the most away home goals this season, 29.
So does that make so Liverpool it's all over the place, and so Virgil van Dijk potentially you want to bring in if he's going to play, which I assume he does.
I'm sorry, Swans fans, but Jordan Ayew, yes, absolutely. I think as a fantasy asset, he could be a real good one and a good enabler. But 6 goals at home, that is dire.
And how many goals for Liverpool away from
29.
home? 29. I mean,
so
and
there's
Salah,
going to be.
We talk about him every week. We never bloody captain him, right? No one ever captains him. For some reason, I seem to avoid putting the captain on him.
Potentially because there's always somebody that's more expensive in your team that you kind of feel you should captain over him.
I know, but he returns every week, and I just feel like you've just got to start captaining him at some stage. And away at Swansea feels like a really good opportunity to do that.
It does, and the data is there to back it up. And
absolutely.
I think that, if you've not got Kane or you just want a differential captain choice, then Salah's certainly a good one. It's the only real way to make Salah work for you these days is to captain him, because a lot of people just don't do that.
I think so. Fozzie B, thanks for making that point. So this is a phrase that was on the Scoutcast last night, but the guys who got the assist actually coined it, and it was a brilliant phrase. They said that Salah has got a lower floor, but Kane has got a higher ceiling. So what they mean by that is actually Kane has got he can get hat-tricks, Kane, right? He can easily get hat-tricks and 3 bonus points, and he's got that explosive ceiling that, you potentially could get. But equally, he can do a blank every now and again. Whereas Salah seems to get something every week, be it sort of 8-9 points, or gets between sort of 9 to 14, whereas Kane can get 0, can get 20 points. So depends if you want to go for the more potentially more explosive option, or whether the perceived maybe safer option of Salah. We'll see.
I don't know. I mean, the other player I think we need to give a bit of lip service to, and we don't need to talk about him much because we did in the last log, is Oxlade-Chamberlain, who at 5.6 I think is a real fantasy asset in the making.
Who's that, sorry?
Oxlade-Chamberlain.
Ox, well, I think he's a good differential to begin with now, and he's only 5'4" in the game. 5'6". So, yeah, I've got a bit of money in the bank. I was looking at a Loftus-Cheek to Ox maybe as a differential. It would mean that I've got Firmino and Ox and Salah, and do I want that, and do I want Virgil van Dijk going forward, potentially? So I haven't done it yet, but it's definitely, if we were still doing the regular, it's absolutely on there.
Yeah, I think so, certainly. Okay, so let's move away from that game then. Where should we go? Leicester. Let's talk about Leicester.
So we're on an hour already. Let's pick out a couple of games where we think their headlines
So I just want to talk about Leicester from the point of view of Mardy and Vares.
Mardy and
Vares. That's also known as Mahrez and Vardy. So I think these two are really, really good fantasy assets at the moment.
Oh, definitely, definitely. And at home to Watford, right?
So 4 of their next 6 games are at home, the King Power.
Let's take a look at their fixtures.
Mahrez created 35 big chances. It's more than any other player at Leicester.
I really like Mahrez right now, don't you? If I wanted to get it, there's a real piece of me that really wants to take Eriksen out this week for Mahrez.
No, not this week. Do it next week.
Yeah, I know, but it's just Mahrez looks so creative.
Yeah, and so Mahrez has scored in the last 4 games against Watford. Watford are looking
leaky, to say the least.
Yeah. So just to kind of counter them, I think
it's another team I'm expecting a bit of regression from, by the way. Watford, I think he's burnt them out.
Well, I think they're already in that, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they've definitely burnt them out there.
Yeah, I think so. From a Leicester point of view, it's Mahrez and Vardy again.
What about, so every tip has quite rightly said, I was going to bring this up, so Old Brighton.
Yeah.
So as well as Vardy and Mahrez, you want a cheap way into that midfield. Yep. What about this as an opinion then? So if Mahrez goes, it doesn't look like he's going to, but say Mahrez gets a transfer to Liverpool, wherever he decides to go, does that make Old Brighton much more of an asset? I think it absolutely does, because he starts going on every set piece. He becomes the creative force in that side. All right, they're going to lose. They're going to lose something by losing Mahrez, right, for sure.
Yeah.
But Old Brighton, I think, is a fantastic option if Mahrez goes, but it doesn't look like he's going to. So.
Okay. But yeah. So from that point of view, I wouldn't have any Watford players at the moment.
Not right now.
If you really want to, then it's only Deeney that's a viable option for me at the moment.
Okay. Richarlison, is he really?
No.
Richarlison gone off the boil a bit?
He's gone off the boil massively.
Okay.
I think so. The other 2 games that we've not yet covered, we've talked about Everton a lot. So I don't think we really need to talk about them anymore.
I think that's it. Again, West Brom, they don't really score enough goals still, in my opinion. They haven't really got a very good goal scorer. They're tough to break down, right? But Everton will have enough.
They've got a brilliant goal scorer.
Hashtag Team Rondon, yeah, absolutely. But he's well off the boil, and I think Everton, they're going to be, the spirits will be high in the camp.
Yeah,
they've got Tosun there.
I agree with
Walcott.
you, but
I think they'll do
I'm just saying, don't insult Rondon. I mean, I'd be very upset with you, and
So
might end our marriage that way.
What's the one? Arsenal.
Arsenal and Palace.
Okay.
Arsenal have never failed to score at home to Palace, so there should be goals in it. 39 games in total over 17 games. So there should be a goal for Arsenal in there. Where I see it coming from, I'm not entirely sure.
I still go back to that Arsenal team sheet that got released before what was the last game they played? Can't remember.
Bournemouth.
It was Bournemouth, wasn't it? Yeah, and the team sheet just looked bad. And I don't think they're going to bring in any of these new recruits, either Aubameyang or Mickey or anybody like that, in time for this Palace game.
Nope.
So I'm wondering again what that Arsenal team looks like, and if it's as uninspiring as it was before. I see that being a tricky game, even at Arsenal, right?
I agree. And actually, Palace, away from home, have been on a decent run. So they're unbeaten in the last 5, 2 wins, 3 draws out of those games, away from home. I think Palace will give Arsenal a really good run for their money in that game. I really do.
I think they will.
I actually, so one of the things I'm looking at is getting rid of Loftus-Cheek, because I've had a bit of enough of him not playing. Because I feel like it's a bit frustrating he is at the moment.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right, so that's the games. So Sai is saying, would you rather Vardy or Firmino?
Firmino.
I think Firmino. Just.
I'd rather have Mahrez, to be honest. And I think what I'll probably do is I'll probably do Ali to Mahrez next week, probably.
That looks like a good transfer, and if you're going to do that, then I don't think you'd want Mahrez and Vardy.
No, I don't want both, and I don't want to lose Firmino. I like Firmino. So yeah, I think that's what I'm going to be doing.
If you're chasing in a mini league and everyone's getting on Firmino, is Vardy a better option than him then? Yeah, maybe. Certainly wouldn't write out Vardy at all.
I'm not writing him out. I just don't want him. I want Mahrez.
So let's talk about captains for the weekend then, guys. Who are you guys captaining? So Mick Summers is saying, Mick, welcome to the stream. Thanks for joining. Sterling as a differential captain this game week. Home to Newcastle. There's undoubtedly goals there.
Oh yeah,
Sterling.
but could it be Sané? Could it be Aguero? Like, that's what worries me with captaining a City fan. You captain, Captain Salah, you know he's going to get you something. Captain Kane, he's probably going to get you something. Captain one of those big names, yeah. Now, Sterling or any City player just worries me because it could be one of the others that does something on that game.
Surely we cannot be sitting here and saying if you've got Aguero and you're at home to Newcastle, you've got to captain him, haven't you?
Well, I think so.
Got to captain him.
I think you have.
FPL royalty.
I think you have got to captain him, and I think I would captain him if I had him. But there is just a real part of me. It's the same way every time I look at City with a fixture, and I think I should captain one of my City players. So probably Sterling or Silva when I had him.
Yeah.
And then I look at the game and think, oh, there's such a risk that it's one of the others that does it that game.
But Aguero is very anti-template, right? Not a lot of people have got Aguero, so could be a very good differential. Spencer's joined. Hey, Spencer, thanks for joining. He is saying, play Wilson or Richarlison. What do you think about that?
Play them.
Not for captain, but would you play Wilson or Richarlison? What are you thinking?
Wilson.
I think Wilson all day long.
100%. Watford are terrible at the moment. I wouldn't. No, Wilson, 100%.
Yeah,
leave Richarlison as your third.
So Watford have got to go to Leicester. Leicester, they're not going to sit back and park the bus. They're going to want to go for that game. That might leave space in behind for Richarlison. So I think I would still play Wilson, given that Bournemouth against West Ham, and I don't think West Ham have kept a clean sheet for a few weeks. So I think I would go Wilson there out of those two. August Angleson is saying, I'm going for Aguero, but it's scary. Yeah, I like that. It's a great differential.
That is exactly how I feel.
I hope that works out for you, August. So what else are we saying here? So Amwin is saying Van Dijk or Robertson. I assume in terms of bringing.
Not as captain.
No. I would assume, and when it tell us if we're wrong, it's in terms of bringing into the side. Is it Van Dijk or Robertson? I really like Van Dijk. I mean, clearly I'm going to like Van Dijk, and
is he fit now?
Maybe I'm getting caught up in the hype. Yeah, he's fit. He tweeted something like, see you in Swansea or something, right? So he's going to play. I think he's got aerial threat all over him, and actually the delivery from corners from Ox lately looks really good. Van Dijk loves to win an aerial duel, as we've seen in the stats when he played for Southampton. I think he's a threat all day long in that box,
really
right?
Good.
As well as Swansea have only got 6 goals at home all season, so a Liverpool defender looks good. Don't get me wrong, Robertson has played very, very well for us. There is, the threat that Moreno comes back at some stage. Seems to be one of Klopp's favourites. I can't believe that he's going to take Robertson out that time, because Robertson's been brilliant since he's been there.
If you want a non-biased opinion on this, I'd go Van Dijk.
Yeah, I think so. So go on then. Your captain for the weekend, as if we need to ask. Who is your captain for the weekend?
It's Kane. And I did actually this week seriously think about Salah, because I do think Swansea is just it could be a points haul for him. But for me, it's Kane again, simply because of the 100-goal thing. Okay, so this is your team. Kane captain for last week. You're going Kane captain again. Transfers. Let's talk about transfers. So what are you thinking? Okay, so I got 2 for this week, and actually I'm fairly happy with my team. However, I'm a bit annoyed with Loftus-Cheek. I've had a bit of enough of him. I just feel like I want to get rid of him. But I still want to keep my Palace asset. So I'm thinking about doing Loftus-Cheek to Millie. Really? Yeah. Okay. Because then that enables me to do De Poitre to Wilson. So is Loftus-Cheek more expensive than Millie? So you're going to save a bit of money doing that, and that gives you the bit you need to get. I think so. I worked it out, and so the maths. Okay. Basically, I can do both, and the maths work. So I'll have 0 in the bank. Right. Okay. But most of the Millie thing is just because I feel like Palace at the moment are on a bit of a run. I don't feel like Arsenal are in a very good place. And moving forward, I'd like a Palace defender in my team. Palace, not a defender, a Palace player in my team. And I'm just a little bit disillusioned with Loftus-Cheek all the time, not playing. It's only because he's injured, right? He's going to come back at some stage. Well, I know, but it's all. He looked alright before he's injured. Absolutely, but there is this whole thing about when is he going to come back? Like he's been at 70% chance of playing for weeks and weeks and weeks now, and it's a bit annoying me. So my original intention was to just do one transfer and to deal with Elliott as my keeping problem. Yeah. As usual, this is a really straightforward transfer policy that you've got for the game week. You so convoluted, it's unbelievable. Go on. Every time, what are your transfers? So half hour later, we get there. So my original plan was to deal with Elliott. However, I have not very much money in the bank until I downgrade Ali next game week, which means that I actually can't afford anyone decent to replace Elliott.
So just while you're on this convoluted transfer policy, so Sai is saying Millie's on pen, so okay, he's backing you on Millie. Dom J's saying, well, you just bigged up Ibe. Jordan Ibe in for Loftus-Cheek, right?
And that's another.
And then you don't need Callum Wilson. Unless you're going to double
Yeah, but
on Bournemouth.
you don't want me to have Callum Wilson because you've done that. Jordan Ibe.
I need some differential against you.
Jordan Ibe, to be honest, is one I thought about, but then it harps back to that Palace thing. I'm a bit like, okay. I don't know. But the Elliott one is the one I really want to deal with, but I need to save some money from somewhere in order to deal with Elliott, and then maybe I don't know.
So you haven't decided, basically, after all of that waffle and nonsense.
I sort of had decided. I sort of decided I was going to get Millie and Wilson.
But Dom J has just put a massive spanner in the works for Jordan Ibe, hasn't he? I can tell he's got you thinking there. He's got you thinking. Well done, Dom. That's exactly what we want. Challenge Sam's thinking. So
I mean, to be honest,
I
reckon these people will be on my bench anyway, won't they? So
oh, let me know. Right, okay. So my captain is Salah this game week. I'm going to go Salah.
I love it when we've got a different captain.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's a bit heart over head.
You've
but
got to sit through that game on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. You've got to sit through the game on Monday.
That's all
At the end of the day, and I saw the comment. I can't remember. I think it was maybe Jeff Holt or somebody on the live stream on the chat there was saying, if you're gonna captain Salah, it's got to be this game week, isn't it? It's got to be.
I think so.
It's got to be. Swansea look bad. Liverpool back of that high. Swansea have had the game in midweek, so a few of them will be knackered. I think it's got to be. Yes, Kane's going to want the record. I get all that stuff, right? But I need to start catching up, not just with you, but overall rank, frankly, is bad. So Salah captain, I think, is the way to go. Transfers, I've already done Morata out, and on the basis of what I've been...
have you?
Yeah, he's gone. So what I've been doing, as a red, who's been sent off? Pedro?
Oh, well, he's not happy about it.
You don't look happy about that, so...
Why does Conte always look so miserable?
Because he's the board are giving him Andy Carroll to play with. Goodness me, that's why he looks miserable. Let's see if this is a red. Oh, blimey. Is that a second yellow or red? That doesn't look a straight red. Anyway, that'll be Pedro suspended for a bit, so don't get him in your sides. So for me, it's Salah captain and transfers...
Hang on, let's go back. Who, Morata for who?
Yeah, so I was getting to that. Morata's out, Firmino's in. Because I think that there is some credibility in this thing about following the template, bar a couple of players. I've seen a couple of the guys on the Scoutcast are doing it. A few on the Twitter are doing it.
You're not going to catch me by having the same players as me, are you?
Not that I'm just following the crowd, but I do think that there's some merit in it. I do think also that in that forward front three line, there ain't that many players you want, actually. I mean, we were sitting a few weeks back saying, well, it's only Kane and Morata you'd want. Well, now you don't want Morata either. So you definitely stick on Kane. Even when the fixtures turn bad, I think you stick on Kane. And if I was going to get off of Morata, I've got to go up to Aguero, or I've got to go down to Firmino or Vardy.
So you saved nearly a mil doing that.
Yeah, so it was Firmino, Vardy or Aguero. Aguero meant that a bit of surgery in my side, so I would have had to take some money out of maybe on Arnautovic, and I definitely didn't want to do that. And Aguero's not looked amazing lately, so it's then therefore between Vardy and Firmino, and I want Mahrez next week, so probably don't want Vardy and Mahrez. So I think it's going to be
by next week
Firmino.
We're going to have exactly the same team because I'm getting Mahrez next week too.
Well, we're just starting to. The template is starting to form, isn't it? So I've got Kane. So I've got Kane and Firmino up front, and now Callum Wilson as well, who I've got in for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So that's my front three.
That was an absolute no-brainer. That one, I'm not surprised about that.
And the transfer that I'm considering for a -4 is Ben Mee out for John Stones or Van Dijk. That's the two I'm considering. I do think Liverpool will keep a clean sheet.
Van Dijk, yeah, I can see that more than Stones because Van Dijk has got the potential to go and get something else from that game other than just a clean sheet.
Yeah. So my thinking between the two is if I get Stones, it's to cover everyone that's got Otamendi, or do I go, Van Dijk and go a bit differential?
But would I take a 4? So there's a difference, isn't there, between a 4-point hit for Stones and one for Van Dijk? Because I think Van Dijk has the potential to get you more than just a clean sheet 6.
Yeah, maybe. And maybe it's the upside going forward that will persuade me for Van Dijk over Stones. Plus, I'm getting to a point in the game where I just want to have a bit of fun with it. And having Van Dijk, I think, is one that I want to have. And I want to come up with a song for Van Dijk.
There's going to be no more singing in these ones.
Right, so we're going to wrap this up, guys, because 100% I want to watch the penalties. And I'm sure you guys want to watch the penalties as well. So let's just go very, very quickly because it's on 29-17. Jammy pick for this game week. Very quickly.
So I'll just tell you who I had on the list. So I had Creswell from West Ham. I had Rudiger at Chelsea because actually his last game week's been really interesting points scores wise. I've got Bournemouth, Callum Wilson of course.
Yeah.
Also thought about Benteke at Palace.
One Jammy pick for this game week.
And Walcott at Everton. I think it's going to be... I think I'm going to be boring and play it safe and go for Callum Wilson.
All right. I like Stoke players. I think Stoke have got to win. They've got to win.
You like Stoke players?
Well, no, I don't like Stoke players, but I doubt if Shaqiri is owned over 5%. I'd maybe go Shaqiri. Maybe even take a little punt on somebody like, you know, like a Crouchy or maybe even that Bauer guy at the back, right? So I fancy Stoke this week, and they've got to win. They've got to impress the image. They've just got to beat Huddersfield at home. So I fancy them there.
All right.
In terms of top points pick...
Morata's losing the plot.
Oh, Morata's gone as
been
well.
sent off.
Oh, Morata's gone.
He's just
Can you believe it?
He's proper lost the plot. He's got that for being angry.
Can you believe this? What is the crack with Morata?
He's just shouting at the ref. Aspilicueta needs to be careful because he's having a shout now.
I'm suddenly very happy.
Conte looks like he's going to cry.
I'm
Look
suddenly
at him.
very happy that
He's thinking,
I've transferred him out.
God, I've got Andy Carroll now.
Well, the Andy Carroll
Look at
transfer's
him.
got to
He's
happen.
still having a go at him.
It's got to happen.
Aspilicueta's got to be careful. He's going to get in trouble as well.
Has he gone for talking rather
I'm not sure.
than a
But
tackle?
all I did was look at the screen and he's
VAR. He's had a bit of a dive there.
And he's just shouted at the ref, I think, hasn't he?
Goodness me, this VAR last couple of days, it's really creating some headlines, isn't it?
But it was right yesterday.
With Iheanacho's goal yesterday, which was spot on, by the way.
It's
the
right.
Absolutely right thing to do.
I think he's got sent off here for shouting at the ref. Probably told him to do
He
one.
is so sorry, guys. We've got to see what's going on here. Key FPL asset here, so there is some FPL interest. It's a dive. Well, it is. He's got a hand on his shoulder, but it does look like a guy, and therefore I guess another yellow card. I assume he's been booked before. We've not been watching it.
I don't know. I think you've got to be really...
Is it the VAR that sent him off?
No, the ref sent him off. I think he's...
And then he's gone to VAR and he said, I stand by my original decision to send him on, presumably.
I don't know, because the VAR, they show you, but in all the games, don't they? But he doesn't necessarily
VAR,
use
I tell you what.
But the ref might not have used it, the VAR. They just look at everything, don't they?
Goodness me. Yellow for simulation, apparently the guys are saying. All right, okay. All right, so top points pick, we haven't discussed that, so let's go through that. I do, you know, maybe it's hard what I said, but I do fancy Liverpool this game week. I do think that Swansea
I think you should fancy Liverpool this game week.
And I think I've got to go for Salah. But you take your pick. I mean, Mane could do well, Firmino could do well, even Ox. You know, I don't know if I put Ox as a top points pick, but I'm going Salah, and on that basis, captain him as well.
All right.
That's my thinking. All right, guys, we're going to leave you to watch the penalties of the Chelsea and Norwich game.
We won't know if your points pick has come in and before we film on Sunday.
I've got a bit of a thing about doing that, haven't I? Did it last week with Lukaku, and that worked out okay-ish. He got a goal, didn't he?
But he wasn't the top points pick.
Top points pick, but he did all right.
Should have gone Kane, shouldn't you?
I should have gone Kane, absolutely right. If in doubt, Captain Kane. All right, guys, that is it for tonight. Thank you for joining us, as usual.
Sorry we kept you up so late.
Yeah, but I think the guys are up waiting for the outcome of this game, right? So if you guys are not following us already, a very, very quick plug again for at FPL Family on Twitter, at FPL Family on Instagram as well. Leave your comments below. Let us know what your team looks like for this game week. Who's your essential pick? Who's your captain pick? We'd like to hear about jammy picks as well. Who did you go for in the end? Was it Walcott or somebody?
No, I went Callum Wilson.
Callum Wilson, okay, Callum Wilson.
Played it a bit safe this week.
Not a bad jammy pick, although I think he's quite a
need...
popular transfer in this game week, isn't he? Third most transferred in, you were saying, isn't he?
No, that was Jordan Ayew.
Oh, Jordan Ayew, sorry, yeah, he'd be a good jammy pick, actually. Not against us.
Against
not against us. No, terrible idea.
Don't fancy
terrible
Swansea
idea.
at all, but...
Terrible idea. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, as usual, leave us a nice thumbs up, like and subscribe if you haven't already. So thank you for doing that. Hit the little bell button as well. There's a little thing that says alerts. You know, you can subscribe and then you can hit the little bell button. It'll tell you when we're going live. It'll give you an alert, all that sort of stuff. We haven't done a poll for today. I've kind of bottled it a bit. I'm in a bit of trouble with the technology as I was coming on, so I didn't really have a chance to do a poll. But I've figured out how to do it. So we will do one when we do the reaction to the upcoming game week on Sunday. All right, guys, that is it. We're going to settle in. We're going to watch Chelsea and Norwich hit some penalties. It's full time. It's 1-1. Chelsea down to 9 men. This is going to be exciting, guys. We will join you on Sunday for a reaction to game week 24. Until then, we will see you later. Cheers, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks ever so much.
Bye.
Have a great one. Green arrows.